This co-stop, excessive usage of vCPUs, decrease the amount of vCPUs for this particular VM. This should lead to increased scheduling opportunities. Okay, so when it comes to CPU, right? When you see these options over here, again, there are a lot of things that you have to understand. So, for example, if I talk about CPU scheduler, okay, what is a CPU scheduler? You are running a virtual machine. Those virtual machines have virtual CPUs. Now, these virtual CPUs have to be aligned to physical CPUs. This is called scheduling, wherein a virtual CPU is mapped to a physical CPU and then basically the process is executed. Because what is a virtual machine? It is only a group of files. Okay, there's nothing physical over there. So when you open google.com over here, who is basically doing that activity? It is the CPU, no, the physical CPU that you have. So the instructions are given to a vCPU. You as a user give instructions to a vCPU, and the scheduling happens wherein this vCPU is mapped to a physical CPU, and then the processing happens. So this mapping of a virtual CPU to a physical CPU is done by a process called CPU scheduler. Okay. This happens automatically. Now you don't have to do anything, but I'm just telling you behind the scenes what would happen. Okay. Now what can happen is that the physical ESXi that you have, the CPU can be absolutely on the higher side. The CPU can be choked. Okay, the CPU utilization can be high. Now what would happen is you will have a virtual machine over here, and the virtual machine will say that, I have to run google.com. Okay, and I have a vCPU, and I'm basically, waiting that CPU scheduler maps me to a physical CPU, a physical core. So this virtual guy is waiting for the CPU scheduler so that it can map it to a physical vCPU, physical CPU, and then the process can be executed. If this is taking time, this is called percentage ready. This is what the matrix percentage ready means. Percentage co-stop basically means that on this VM, you have given 8 vCPUs. There is no need of eight vCPUs. You should basically reduce the number to 6 or maybe to 4. This is something that you should do. Okay. So this is what basically these counters mean. Now there are too many counters. You have counters for disk, data store, SCSI devices, memory, network, and blah blah blah, so many other things. And to know about each and every counter of each and every view, that's not possible. Okay, so you can only know a certain set of options, and then you will have to basically learn with time and understand what they are. If you don't want to have all these hassles to go through, then you should buy a monitoring tool. So for example, there is a VMware monitoring tool called VCF Operations. Okay, so VMware basically bought a company. It was called Dynamic Ops, and they rolled out a product called VCops. Then it was named to VROPS. Then it was named to ARIA Operations. Okay, and now it is called as VCF Operations. Same tool with different names. Okay, this is a monitoring tool that works like a charm. Very great, very good tool. And here you can basically see a lot of performance details. This tool can do the analysis, and it can give you suggestions that, this virtual machine needs more CPU, this needs more RAM. Here you decrease the CPU, bring it down by 2. So this tool can do anything and everything. That is a very great tool, to have in the environment. But again, it costs money, and it's not for free. And yeah, if your company is willing to pay, then your environment, would benefit a lot from it. Okay. So this is what basically ESX Top can do. So here we were talking about the CPU um, operations. Similarly, you can hit M for memory. And then you can hit Shift V to like only the virtual machines. And here you remember we were talking about ballooning, memctl. So is ballooning done? Oh, okay. Has the swapping been done? Has the compression happened? All those things, it will basically talk about that, how much TPS has shared, what is the min-free, we spoke about it yesterday, what is the total memory, and then what is the utilization. And here you would find all, now again, these are all different counters. Every counter has a different meaning associated with it. Again, what it is not. you will have to basically refer to that book, or you would have to basically Google up to understand. Okay. Or you can even use the Chat GPT or Gemini, some AI tools, they might even help you as well. Okay. So again, if you want to add or remove a column, so you can simply hit F, and then here you see that if you want to see the ballooning options, you can hit J over here. So for example, I'll
Get this
remove K.
sir,
Hmm?
how to return to this option to arrange our columns and rows?
You
This
have to
way.
hit the letter F as in Foxtrot.
Okay, okay, okay.
Then
Yes.
the options will come up. So now when
Yeah.
you've selected the options, now you can hit the enter key and you can come back, and now you see over here that if the ballooning is happening or the ballooning is not happening, what is the maximum size, for the ballooning that can happen. So it will basically give you all those details over here. Okay. So this is a way you can figure it out that what memctl is, a target, what is the max, is it happening, is the VMware tools installed or not. So here it says yes for these machines, and then here it says no, because the VMware tools are not installed, and if the VMware tools are not installed, the ballooning cannot work. So this is how you will see it. So again, a lot of different options over here. Everything has a different meaning, a lot of counters associated with it. So if you try understanding everything at once, it will become, like I mentioned, too overwhelming for you. You will have to, learn this with time and understand things one at a time. Performance, troubleshooting, these things take time. Okay. It cannot be done in one day, but at least, you have take an idea, on how these things can work. Again, for ESX top, you have options wherein you can hit the help button. And here, if you want to basically capture few data points, some matrices, you want to put them in a CSV file. Later, you want to create that CSV file into charts or performances. If you want to do that, yes, you can do all those things over here as well. But again, uh, this is something that you will have to play around to understand what ESX Top can do. Yeah. Now let's talk about the UI thing. How do you see things in the UI? So if you want to see things in UI, basically you start off with data center and you go to performance, and you have got something called as performance charts over here. So here you would see advanced performance chart, and here you would see overview of the performance charts. Now, depending on which object you are, so you are basically on the data center object right now. So the objects that you will see will be as per the object, which is the data center over here. So here it will show you that you have the production cluster. So here it will show you all the clusters that you have. Here it will show you what is the CPU utilization, the memory utilization. Here it will talk about the utilization of the data store. Here you can change the utilization, and you can see the utilization for the data stores. It will give you the details. Okay. So here you can see the space utilized, what has been the utilization for every data store. This is how you can figure it out. Okay. Here it only gives you the data for the last day, last week, last month, last year. Now, this is my lab. I power down this machine Monday to Friday. I only power it on a weekend. That is why you don't see, all these other options. That is why you see, a blank screen. But in your environment, you would see everything filled out over there. Okay. So this is how you can figure out if you want to see the data of last week, last month, it will come up over here. Remember, all this data is being fetched from the database, which is the Postgres. Okay. So the Postgres is basically, this is doing a query, so what you're basically changing the view, it is internally, it is running a query and then, pulling up all that data and, showing it to you. Okay. So here you can go to the advanced, and in advanced, you will see, further details. You would see about virtual machine operations.